observations of different circumstances which go on, or which happened in the Krishna conscious movement. I was sitting behind Samadhi of Vaishnava in Radha and praying and praying and praying. And finally, I got the message that it has to be published because otherwise, in the future, people will not know the historical record of truth. So, therefore, I published a book which is called The Search for Purity. I'm a very fallen soul. I'm simply trying to serve my Guru, Varga. And in this way, I got to meet Srila Prabhupada, and I got to meet Srila Srila Maharaj, and I got to meet Srila Puri Maharaj, and I got to meet Srila Bhakti Vallabh Tirtha Bhajan, I got to meet Srila Bhakti Puri Maharaj, and so many other genuine, wonderful devotees. But this book has certain things according to the wisdom which Srila Prabhupada shared with us. I will just point out a few highlights, which, if you want to go through it, it's online. Search for Purity. You can see that book, and many of the information are kind of outdated because it's published so long time ago. But the principle is over there because the principle, for example, of centralization, Srila Prabhupada utterly rejected centralization. Why? And because it takes away the spirit of enthusiasm, the challenge that I have to do something. Like when the father dies, the children leave the house of the father, start their own family. It's a full challenge for each and every one of the children in this world to start their own family. So when a devotee leaves his guru's ashram to go somewhere else to do something else, that is a type of a challenge where he has to be free according to his conviction and to his enthusiasm to share with others what he received from his Gurudev. So there's many highlights in this book. For example, there's also the history. Here I will read you a little bit. Centralization destroys enthusiasm. Srila Prabhupada's famous letter to Karanda, dated December 22nd, 1972, he wrote, regarding your points about taxation, corporate status, etc., I've heard from Tirsa you want to make a big plan for centralization of management, taxes, monies, corporate status, bookkeeping, credit, like that. I do not at all approve of such a plan. Do not centralize anything. Each temple must remain independent and self-sufficient. Like, for example, when you started a temple in Andaman, then it was something that only you could decide what is good for there. Then the centralized influence comes and even removes the leader. Very complicated and disturbing. That was my plan from the very beginning, Prabhupada continues. What you are thinking otherwise. Once before you wanted to do something centralizing with your GBC meetings, and I did not interfere. And if I did not interfere, the whole thing would have been killed. Look, Prabhupada said, by centralization, we kill the movement. And there's many types of centralization. For example, sannyas. You cannot centralize sannyas. Sannyas is given by a community to somebody who they trust very much. Or sannyas is given as a formality by a godbrother. A godbrother can give you sannyas, and it doesn't mean that he becomes your guru, but you will respect him, obviously. But then when he gives you sannyas, this meant that you go out and start something new somewhere else. So that is very, very challenging and beautiful. Or for example, in a community, some older devotee who's done so much service, some people may say, why we don't make him a sannyasi or a babaji so he can be a preacher here with some special regards towards him. Srila Prabhupada continues, do not think in this way of big corporations, big credit, centralization. These are nonsense proposals. Now you see, ISKCON is a big organization, but they also suffer the problems of centralization. So the only thing I wanted was the book printing and distribution should be centralized. Therefore, I appointed you and Bali Mardan to do it. Otherwise, management, everything should be done locally by local man. That includes initiation. Who can decide who will be initiated? Who can just decide who you want to be initiated by? That's a local issue. It depends on the local administration, on the local preaching. Who has done the work? Who is winning the hearts there? If you centralize that, like in my case, I was preaching in Brazil, and I was very happy, and the devotees were very happy. I was very young devotee, but then all of a sudden I was told, go out, we don't want you here anymore. Not the devotees. The devotees, they wanted to keep me, but some authority wanted to centralize the power in his name, in his hands, and he just told me, go, like that. So totally against Srila Prabhupada's instruction. And that's what happened whenever things go wrong, when things go against Srila Prabhupada's instruction, then there will be failure. Prabhupada continues, accounts must be kept, things must be in order and lawfully done, but that should be each temple's concern, not yours. Krishna conscious movement is for training men to be independently thoughtful and competent in all types of department of knowledge and action, not for making bureaucracy. I challenged the GBC, a written challenge, rather than they didn't even send an answer. I sent a paper, which is also printed in this book, to the GBC about the false in ISKCON. I said, let's discuss these. I'm independently thoughtful and I have these observations. You know what they told me? You should rather have committed suicide than proposing that you may leave ISKCON if we don't change things. That was spoken to me by nobody less than Satsvara Goswami, and maybe Jagadish was also there. Jagadish not even in the movement right now. And Satsvara, I don't know where he is. This is bureaucracy. They made bureaucracy supreme over the inspiration of the devotees. Prabhupada continues. Once there's bureaucracy, the whole thing will be spoiled. There must be always individual striving and work and responsibility, competitive spirit, not that one shall dominate and distributes benefits to the others and they do nothing but beg from you and you provide. No, never mind. There may be botheration to register each center, take tax certificate each, become separate corporations in each state. That will train men how to do things, and they shall develop reliability and responsibility. That is the point. I'm observing now, especially in your country, that our men are losing their enthusiasm for spreading on our programs of Krishna conscious movement. Otherwise, why so many letters or problems are coming dissatisfied? That is not a very good sign. So here ends the letter of Prabhupada to Canada. Could it be said more clear? Now, we are not so much concerned with ISKCON, because ISKCON is not so much concerned with us. Otherwise, Gopal Krishna Maharaj asked me, when are you coming back to ISKCON? I told him, the day you realize that I never left ISKCON, that is the day I'm back with you. There's no question of this institution, that institution. We don't want bureaucracy. We want spiritual life, dynamic, striving, and reliability. When somebody don't accept that you have an opinion of your own, then it is not anymore spiritual movement. Then it is a kind of a manipulative situation for interest or something like that. So there are so many details in this book. Like for example, did you know, I want you to take that, people like uh, discussions in our, we have this platform in the internet where they discuss things on the Vaishnava institutions. Did you know that Prabhupada wanted each GBC to only have 5 temples under his care? And did you know that the 5 presidents of the temples, they vote who they want to have as their GBC to represent them before the general body of the organization, to be able to feedback and to know. And that if the 5 temple presidents are not satisfied with that GBC, they can vote him out and put a GBC on their own. That was in Prabhupada's original bylaws. They kicked it out. They never discuss it. They say they follow Prabhupada, but they don't take in consideration what Prabhupada gave to them to protect the movement. Then somebody invented that Prabhupada only wanted 24 GBC. Absolute nonsense. Prabhupada didn't contradict himself. Prabhupada was very, very systematic. Everything was perfect. So when this book was published, that was in, let me find the date here, Reka Printers in Delhi, we printed this, and it's long time ago. We didn't even have our temple in Miami yet. It was a previous temple. For some reason, I don't even put a date here, it must be somewhere. I wonder why I didn't put a date there. The first context of the GBC mission, that's crucial because Prabhupada said that. Prabhupada said, for your practical questions, how to continue the mission, you have to counsel Srila Sridhar. He didn't say anybody else for that. Srila Sridhar, he was his most trusted person. He trusted in, he loved other devotees also, all his god brothers. But for the mission, how the mission can continue, he trusted in Srila Sridhar. He, Prabhupada wanted to make another mission, making Srila Sridhar ahead after the Gaudiya Math went into so many difficulties. You know, this all happened in 1983. 84, I had to leave ISKCON and then finally started. There's a letter of Pradyumna Prabhu to Satsma. This is such a historic letter. If you read that, you understand the whole thing. Pradyumna, my beloved Panditji, but he's Prabhupada's Panditji, but he's my elder Panditji friend, Pradyumna. And we went together to see in Philadelphia. We went together not a long time, many years later, to see Ravindra Swarup. Said, listen, things are not going right according to Prabhupada's mission. And when you talk to the GBC, you defeat them on the spot. They have nothing to say. They have nothing to say. They never, because they have no real arguments. But then they meet together without you, and they do any kind of thing, they make any kind of rule, and they don't counsel. That is the nature. That's why many of us, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, could not stay in ISKCON. And some of them we just didn't make it. If we went to some other, there were many people took shelter of Govinda Maharaj, because he was kind of a very sweet preacher, and so many people that was prohibited. And Govinda Maharaj was prohibited of going to other temples. So many things happened there, you know. If you really know that, then Swarup Damodar was also a great soul. He was the first one to join the World Vaishnava Association from ISKCON. He told me, Yes, I must be part of that. And so, but even him and his Bhaktivedanta Institute, because they could control it the way they wanted him out from ISKCON. So there are many type of conflicts like that. You may not know, you may know, and maybe not even possible to find all the details. But here in this book, you will find many details. Here you find the well-wisher is rejected. The well-wisher and the guide chosen by Prabhupada is rejected. But you better have a good reason to reject the one who Prabhupada chose to help us to put things into order. And then this whole thing that Ritvik, they were just Ritviks, or they were this, or they were that, or they were the only gurus. No, Prabhupada did not want centralization. The Zona Guruship was so much centralization that you kicked out all the presidents of ISKCON. They had no more say. Now all of a sudden, the centralized Guru system had all the say. And they said, means they kicked you out. They kicked out the devotees, meaning kicking out means they said, we don't need you here anymore. We don't want you here anymore. Now there's a new guru here. He already has a few disciples. Now, if you don't like it, you better go out. That is a historic fact. So our Krishna conscious movement is dynamic, and Krishna is in charge. So in the end of the day, everything, the growth of the Gaudiya Math later, the different aspects, it's all in the control of Krishna. So we are not really advocating here anything except sincerity, reflection, looking at the history. Really, it is amazing, when things become bureaucratic and then the truth is bureaucratically cancelled. One my brother Shruta Shrava, he said, what am I to do when when my when the philosophy of Krishna consciousness goes one way and the people who are living in a so-called society of Krishna consciousness goes the other way? Shall I stay with the philosophy or shall I stay with the society? A very complex things, no? So because Sutta Shava went to Srila Srila Maharaj. And even then, at that time, is the proposal. Currently, we are organizing WVA, the World Vaishnava Association. That is a very ambitious plan, and it will take a while to really manifest some solid contribution. But we have started to establish relationships with many Vaishnava acharyas and their organizations, as well as with many individual devotees who are concerned with such ideals. You are invited to participate. So even that, at that time, 84, already the World Vaishnava Association was started. So in this way, yes, we had a few ideas what to do. And the book is, there are many, for example, there's a list of what to do so ISKCON could come up to the standard of what is required. 20 points. 20 points which are to be studied. 20 characteristics of Srila Prabhupada's movement, his wishes, and what happened to them. So, it is a historical book. And I don't know why I never got any reply. I think somebody told me this book is prohibited. That wouldn't be strange, but I haven't seen a written prohibition of the book either. GBC should forget that its service is so important. Actually, the temple president is the most important. Any good temple president will make an excellent GBC. It is no doubt a very important Vaishnava Seva, but isn't the actual way the GBC is presenting itself. They just congratulate each other for wrongly acquired privileges. Many of them, I fear, would not be able by themselves to open a temple, to actually make some bhaktas, or to actually go out and collect the rent. When will it take? What will it take for a dictator to recognize that his dictatorship is useless? All the intellectuals must flee the country. In the material world, dictators don't change. But with Vaishnavas, we still have a little hope. So this is the book which I'm still standing by it. At that time, of course, I was very young and I'm a very useless fellow. But we tried to contribute, and what we collected and what we presented here, I don't see any fault in it. I see it was a sincere reflection upon what we learned from Prabhupada, because we learned a lot from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada gave us complete guidance how to live in Krishna consciousness in his absence. Srila Sridharaj used to say, every disciple has the right and duty to give to others what he received from his Guru Deva to his fullest heart's content. Krishna consciousness. You need it is not an institution to restrict and curtail and frustrate members. No, it is completely dynamic. Yes, but everything is in Krishna's control. We in those days we thought there will be a big opening and there'll be a real heart-opening experience when we published this book, but it didn't happen. Srila Sridharaj was condemned. Even today in the Gaudiya in ISKCON, you will find things in the books to the Bhaktas. Don't associate with the Gaudiya. Never take initiation. Some people even started to give at the initiation ceremony. They included in the initiation ceremony to promise, I will never leave ISKCON. Yes, I heard what to do. Is what he made that vow for his disciples. But anyhow, here we go. This is what we are standing for, and I hope, I know, when you embrace this, when you understand this, then you will also understand the vision of Vaishnava, how important it is, how valuable, how necessary it is, why Srila Jiva Goswami made it, why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Saraswati Jayasri emphasized it, and everything is clear there. We are human, we have many failures, but in philosophy, our acharyas are very clear. Thank you very much. I hope this will inspire you. Get the book, load it down, read it, and write to me. I wish to hear some critical review there, even though it's a bit out of time. No, it's not out of time. The Krishna conscious movement is running full speed, full power, and it will increase and it will have the same problems. Grand centralization stifles the growth, and the local individual devotees have no chance to do what their heart tells them to do. Don't forget, the heart, that's what about. Any suggestion, question from you?
Very complicated issue.
Yes, life is a complicated issue, and starting a family is a complicated issue, and starting a spiritual mission, that's also a complicated issue. But it is, like Prabhupada says, bureaucracy will kill everything.
He said it seems management is a necessary evil.
What?
Management is a necessary evil. Evil. Management.
And necessary evil.
He said it seems.
I don't recall. call that, but it sounds very reasonable. But you should not overmanage yourself that you end up in an evil situation.